Composting in your San Luis Obispo residence is easier than you may think. A Cal Poly student shows us how.
The Avila Valley Barn has reopened for the fall season, but with new COVID-19 guidelines.
And many Cal Poly students are spending more time outdoors and learning how to surf in the ocean.
Broadcasting from Swanson Studios, you're watching Mustang News.
Hello and welcome to Mustang News. I'm Marcus Kakova.
And I'm Kylie Kowalski. Here are today's top stories. Cal Poly students recycle, but do they compost? Cal Poly student and employee at the Cal Poly Organic Farm, Hope Springer, shows us how she composts as a college student. Composting in college can easily be done in a house or apartment. All you need is food waste in a bucket. Springer shared with us why composting is important to her.
I compost because when you put food scraps into the garbage and it goes to a landfill, your food releases methane when it breaks down, and methane is a potent greenhouse gas. So when food is in the landfill, it doesn't really have access to air because it's so squished down.
All you need to start composting is a bucket and some food waste, and you can start reducing the amount of waste your household produces with your first trip to drop off your compost.
Coming up after the break, heat advisories in today's weather report and what to expect for the upcoming week.
With coronavirus spreading, people at higher risk must take extra precautions. You are at higher risk if you're over 65 or if you have an underlying medical condition like heart disease, chronic lung disease, diabetes, or if your immune system is compromised for any reason. If you're at higher risk, stay 6 feet or 2 arm lengths away from others. Better yet, stay home if you can. The choices you make are critical. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
Today's weather in San Luis Obispo, we will see a high of 90 degrees and a low of 61 degrees with 14-mile-per-hour winds. It's going to be a hot week for the Central Coast as heat advisories have gone into effect for San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara counties. The 5-day forecast between Wednesday and Sunday sees sunny skies and clear skies with the temperatures beginning to cool off into the high 70s by Sunday. The beaches are also warm this week, Avila and Pismo beaches with temperatures in the high 80s from today through Saturday, and Cayucos and Morro Bay with highs of 82 degrees and lows of 60 degrees. And for all the surfers out there, waves are expected to be between 3 and 4 feet today. That's it for your weather forecast today. Now back to Kylie.
Many outdoor activities have a high demand right now. Specifically, there is an increase in Cal Poly surfers. Reporter Tony Farias duck dives into this story.
Too many surfers and not enough waves. During the pandemic, outdoor activities including biking and surfing have a very high demand. Journalism senior Sean Galusha is a longtime surfer and shares his perspective on the matter.
But from what I've heard from other people, it definitely kind of became a lot more popular and people were getting kind of annoyed about that.
Surfing is a sport dependent on weather conditions. As winter begins, the water becomes colder due to the west and northwesterly swells that travel across the North Pacific Ocean. This generates powerful waves at west and northwest facing beaches, specifically those on the California coast. Galusha spoke about the limited resources and why many other local surfers only go out on the good days.
A swell comes in, it kind of follows like a histogram. So it builds and then it'll peak and then it falls again. And in between there's really good waves. And it could be like a 10-foot swell is the max. And so you got like 3 feet, 6 feet, 10 feet, and then it starts to fall, like taper off again and fall. And in there's only so many like times that you can surf because the tide also is going up and down, fluctuating. And that all has an effect when there's more people in the water and you're trying to fight different people for waves.
Now, with many Cal Poly students trying to spend more time in the water, there is a learning curve and it takes years to become confident surfing in strong conditions. Still transitioning into larger waves, political science junior Jake Goldham has been surfing for more than a year, adding it also keeps him physically fit.
Definitely like the isolation it provides when you're out there sitting on the board. Nothing really matters outside of that. And it's really been a good way to unwind and remove my brain from work stress mode and relax, to be honest. And even though surfing is a pretty intense activity, it's just intense in a way that's completely disconnected from my school and work responsibilities.
Goldham continues to put in the time, adding more experience with each session. So if you go out in the water, be aware of your surroundings because the locals are always more experienced. For MNTV, I'm Tony Farias.
So one key takeaway, always respect your elders in the water.
The Avila Valley Barn is open to the public this season and taking new precautions to ensure a safe environment. Reporter Ruby Tincup visited the barn and gained some insight into what visitors can expect this year.
The Avila Valley Barn has become a beloved fall destination for families and locals alike. Despite things being a little different this year due to the pandemic, the barn staff says they are taking precautions to create a safe environment for visitors and are still offering a variety of foods and activities.
So this year, due to COVID, I'm sure everybody's trying to roll with it. We're kind of doing the same. So we've implemented some things, hand washing stations. We're really enforcing social distancing. We have lines to get in so that we're limiting the amount of people. That's just given COVID. Outside of that, we still have all of our wonderful things. We have our roasted corn, we have our U-Pick pumpkins, cider-made donuts, ice cream, full bakery, barbecue tri-tip, just to name a few.
The effectiveness of these COVID-19 precautions, however, could be subject to the individual visitor.
I do think it's a good idea, but I don't think it's as implemented as good as I thought it was going to be. Everyone in line is pretty close together and they're still letting you not wear a mask outside even though you're pretty close.
Nevertheless, the barn is seeing an influx of visitors eager to experience the different photo ops and make fun memories.
Yeah, I think people are just excited to get out. In that, we're still trying to maintain all the guidelines that are being put forth through the federal government, and I think we're doing pretty well with that. We have live music playing for people who are waiting in line, and just trying to make people feel at home here on the farm.
For Mustang News, I'm Ruby Tincup.
When visiting the barn, make sure to bring your mask and follow the safety guidelines posted on the company's website. Over this last summer, I met with some of the people who make San Luis Obispo something to celebrate in a series I've named Bone in the Throat. I hope to introduce you to these compelling characters and take you along as we go through their lives, experiences, and favorite places to eat in SLO. This week's host was The Nightcap, a Cal Poly sketch comedy group who shared with me what's funny.
As the nation's doctor, I often get asked, what should I do if I think I might have coronavirus?
People who are sick should stay home. You don't go to an emergency room, you don't go to a clinic. You get on the phone and you ask for advice and instructions from your physician.
We don't want you to go into the ER or the doctor's office without talking to them first because you might spread coronavirus to someone else. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
So are we not? So are we not having our other break? Are we not having our other break?
I'm Truman, and I'm the president of Nightcap. Nightcap here is a sketch comedy team in SLO. This is Grantland. He's our treasurer. Noah, vice president. Natalie is head of our graphic designs, and D'Angelo is one of our writers and production members.
It's just a bunch of people that want to be funny together, just making sense of the world, but being funny together. Just such a comfortable community.
So let's talk about that funniness. Does that come naturally, or is that something you guys all sit down and feel like you have to hammer out?
Oh, that's a rough one.
That's tough. It depends on the day for sure. I definitely think there's something about being in a room with, like a big room with funny people, because like you can view yourself as a person who's like funny like independently. But I think there's like definitely moments like when we're like together in a group and we're like talking about an idea and like everyone just like has an idea and then we're bouncing off of it and we all build off of each other, and I think like together we all like make each other funnier, I think.
The group sort of does change your sense of humor a little bit. You come in with your own brand and you push that into the group, and as people get a bit of that, then you take in a lot of everyone else's little things in there.
What is humor to you guys?
D'Angelo, you take this one.
Oh, you're putting it on me? Oh man. Hey, that's a loaded question, because it's like kind of what everyone was here talking about. Like every member of the team has their own brand of humor, I would say. Mm-hmm. And there's kind of a lovely like chaotic balance that happens whenever we do a show or something. You can always tell who wrote which sketch or who kind of worked together. Mm-hmm. But I guess kind of circling back to your original question, I think humor is just finding the fun and finding, I guess, not taking life too serious.
You can find the full-length story and other installments like it at marcusccva.com. For Mustang News, I'm Marcus Kakova.
Hike up your hoop skirt, because reporter Catherine Lane has more on an old-fashioned sport.
As the nation's doctor, I often get asked, what should I do if I think I might have coronavirus?
People who are sick should stay home. You don't go to an emergency room. You don't go to a clinic. You get on the phone and you ask for advice and instructions from your physician.
We don't want you to go into the ER or the doctor's office without talking to them first, because you might spread coronavirus to someone else. Please visit coronavirus.gov for more information.
What sport has 4 wheels and 6 to 8 legs? Catherine Lane has more for you.
On a Sunday afternoon in rural Arroyo Grande, members of a club gather to practice their sport, the sport of competitive carriage driving. Known as combined driving, participants train to navigate through obstacle courses where they are scored by judges on a set pattern they complete. Today, members of the Brass Oak Driving Society showed up to practice for a competition in the coming weeks. Judging the drivers today is Diane Castema, who's described by her friends as fearless.
I'm in a wheelchair, and so I used to ride, and I like to go fast, and so therefore I got into driving so I could go fast. And the sport of combined driving is like 3-day eventing. We do driven dressage and a cross-country marathon where you get to go fast, and then cones is fast. So that's my need for speed.
Castema was paralyzed from the waist down in 1991 and has not let that stop her, winning numerous gold, silver, and bronze awards abroad. She says there's many reasons why people get involved with driving.
It's different. Sometimes it's disability, you're older, it's more difficult to ride, you're done falling off.
Today's drivers span from beginners looking to hone their craft to rescued mini horses. Morgan Crouch says this is the only competition she could do with her mini horse Oreo due to the nature of his adoption.
Oreo is a technically rescue. He was let loose.
And that concludes today's show. Reporting for Mustang News on MNTV, I'm Marcus Kakova.
And I'm Kylie Kowalski.